TAT. TAT is a statement used by Appalachian oil and gas lawyers among themselves and in really bad days to clients. This ain't Texas. You know, we have a saying that if an Oklahoma client comes to us and says, what's the law? And you say the law is X. Oh, that's different. How do we change our forms? If a Texan comes to us and asks the same question and you tell them, they'll say, that's stupid. Change the law.
One of the things, Russ was a wordsmith, and here's one of my favorite Russisms. A few years back, Russ was participating in a panel discussion for the AEPL Appalachian Land Institute. And the subject involved legacy issues, and especially the last well and lease scenario. Many of these leases and wells were over 100 years old. And so Russ referred to such leases as being HHBP, and then he paused, and then he said, hopefully held by production. Everyone just cracked up, and I'm sure many of us mentally filed that away for future retelling.
For any Oklahomans in the room, land is not square. I have an Oklahoma friend, Tim Dowd. Maybe some of you know him. He's fairly active. Tim is so tired of me saying this at seminars that we speak at together that he has invented the theory that dinosaurs had some wacko homing instinct and died in squares, and that's why Oklahoma is in squares. But we all know now, because we have the non-organic theory of oil, that there were no dinosaurs. So land is not square in Appalachia, and land is not flat. Now, why would we care about that? That's because if you have a dimension of X feet and it's flat, that is one length. If you have a dimension of X feet and it's a point, it's another distance. And combine the non-square and the non-flat, and that is very, very challenging for many of our friends from the West. Rule, write this down. It will guide you. If you find in a description anywhere what appears to be a square, flat piece of Appalachian land, it is a description error.
Russ was, he was so many things. He was obviously a fine attorney, but he was also an educator, as I said, and a very dynamic speaker. He used practical experience and exposure to take very complex case law and put it into words that, the layman, that I would understand.
And I don't want to wax theological, but I firmly believe that in the beginning was title, and title was perfect. And then title came into contact with imperfection called humanity. And the longer the perfect is subjected to the imperfect, the more imperfect it becomes. So logically, if you've been working on it since 1607, you are going to achieve a devil of a lot more imperfection than somebody who's been working on it since 1890. That's a big thing to get your arms around. These states are old, and they have been working on fiddling with their title for longer than most of the other states have been in existence.
Well, I first met Russ almost 30 years ago. He was speaking at an educational event, and as a young landman, I was just totally captivated by his presentation. I heard Russ speak many times after that, and he never failed to impress me. Many presenters often said that one of their toughest challenges was following Russ on the agenda. He made every topic interesting, and Russ respected landmen and the land profession. On the day before he passed, I was on a conference call with Russ and 5 or 6 other attorneys. being a non-attorney, everyone made their comments, and Russ just very politely said, "Steve, what do you think?" And that was Russ, getting input from a landman as to their insight on a particular topic.
And when you've got folk who know nothing starting to do something in an area as complex as this, what you get are leases that anything they don't understand, they cross out. And it's driving us all insane. And it was more fun telling Philadelphians that they were Appalachians than anything I've done in a long time.
Russ was the go-to guy up here in Appalachia. Before we had the expertise in the oil and gas industry, we could always go to Russ. We could always have a extremely good speaker at one of our conferences who understood the industry, who understood the landman's role in the industry, and he was a willing speaker. He was a consummate educator, and he loved his relationship with landmen. He recognized the importance, and you could tell it just by sitting in a room and listening to him, that the landman, the important role the landman played in the whole system, the integrated system, from mineral rights owners to the oil and gas companies, the relationship with the landowners, the surface owners if they didn't own the minerals, then eventually to the regulators and the courts and all the issues that come into play when you're putting together an oil and gas drilling and completion program.
It's scary. I know it's scary. You're plunging into something new. You don't know where the end of that rope is. But jump in. The water's really kind of warm 1 month out of the year. Said client drilled and fracked a well 3 miles from their parents' home. Contrary to the lies of the industry, the frack went directly into the well of the parents, killed the father. That wasn't what we were mad about most. The sin of the industry was against the mother, because again, contrary to the lies of the industry, frack fluid is so toxic, it rendered father's corpse incapable of complete cremation. So mother suffers with having to deal, and I quote, as best I can, with a 25-pound box of partial cremains in her hall closet, end quote. That's what I expected to be the response, because you and I live in the real world. You know, if I had a client smart enough to have a frack that would go 3 miles, my gosh, just serving that client would secure my future. But that wasn't the response in the room. The response in the room was a pervasive, "Oh no." And 950 of those 1,200 people went home and told the 200 people each of them knew that if you get a gas well, don't get cremated. But that's the depth. I mean, what do you do with that? How do you prove the lie?
Well, Russ was so highly respected in the oil and gas industry. Mineral title was a specialty of his, and he was, a resource for everyone. Lawyers, landmen, and management of companies. So he's just, you just have to say Russ. You don't even have to use his last name. Everyone knows who that is.
Russ was a giant, big in stature and had a big heart. As I said, was passionate. That was Russ.
Is his humor. He was just, his knowledge, there's no disputing Russ's knowledge. He just, of case law, he had such a a depth of understanding, but the way he could incorporate humor and you know, just bring lightness to certain areas.
Russ made huge contributions to the oil and gas industry, to the landman profession, to the law profession. From what I heard at his funeral services, to his church, to his neighbors, to his dogs, and to anybody else that he came in contact with. Russ will be sorely missed. I've lost a good friend, I've lost a mentor, and he won't be replaced.